Hi everybody. We are almost a month into 2025, and I thought this was probably the right time to kickstart our off track podcast. And with me, I've got Akshay Gupta. Now, I would love to, go on and tell you, yes, he's a racing driver. He did the NLS 24, he did the NLS season, the entire season, including the 24 hours of Nürburgring. And just last month, or rather last week, he did the Dubai 24 hours, which basically kickstarts his racing campaign in 2025. But all of that would be really boring because what he is off the track is a lot more interesting, and it has a direct correlation to who he is on track and why he is on track. So I don't think I can give a better introduction than this. So I'm going to leave it back to you, Akshay, to sort of introduce yourself to an audience that is both interested in racing but also knows that we've got interesting stories out of racing drivers, out of people that are in motorsports, because we're all connected by passion, but we all have such individual takes on it that makes it so interesting to know a little bit more about who you are off track.
Hi, thank you for having me, first of all. I really like listening to the Hairpin Co podcast. It's been interesting how you've covered everything uh, in terms of motorsport, and I appreciate that. So, thank you for having me. Uh, so, quick introduction. I currently race in the NLS Championship, so mostly endurance racing, GT cars. And right now in the world of business, I'm not doing much, but earlier I used to run this company called Scouto, which I exited back in December of 2021. I sold that company to a used car company called Spinny. We were building connected car solutions. Uh, and I built that for about 6, 7 years, right? And that was my entrepreneurial stint. And it was like a sequential thing where I was racing cars, also a bit into automotive journalism, stopped that, went into entrepreneurship, because as you know, racing cars is the most expensive sport in the world, right? And you need a lot of money to do that. So I thought, let's make the money to do that and then get back into it. And then I got back into it in December of 2021 again. So 6 days after I sold my company, got my money for it, I was back on the racetrack. And then went into the international scene in 2023 with the NLS itself. And I loved it so much that I've been there for the last 2 odd years, and will do the full championship this year as well. So yeah, that's a bit of a background on me.
I think you've underplayed it a lot, and I'll tell you why. Because whoever is listening to this, I think you need to go into Akshay's Notion page, also website, and read a little bit more about who he is as a person, and what sort of prompted all of that. And I think while if anybody takes that step and reads it while listening to this podcast, I still want to ask you, take me back to where all of this began from a racing perspective, and also where you thought that, okay, let me put a pause to all of this, and let me go build something new, something different, sell it, and then come back.
It began, I would say it actually began when I was like 4 years old and driving like a go-kart which didn't have an engine down the mountains in Rajasthan that my father got for me. And I used to literally do that all day. Okay, and it used to give me such thrill out of the speed of going downhill high speed, right? And there was this corner at the end of the road over there. If you don't make that corner, you go to the main street. Okay, so I had to make that corner somehow. And gradually I learned that there's a racing line to follow. I didn't know what a racing line is as a 4 year old or whatever. But I learned that if I take it on the outside and then hit the apex right and then go through that corner, I'll make it. So that is when I fell in love with speed, is what I know. And it's only when I saw something like Formula One on TV around 12 or 13, I thought that this is all I want to do in life. Then I started discovering, oh, how can I get into racing? And I learned that there's something called karting that you have to go through and then get into racing. I went to my local karting track, started karting there, started participating in some minor races, figured there's a national championship for that. Tried a lot to get into that, but it was very expensive for me back then. so I could not do anything. Uh, but then I realized that there were ways that you can get into motorsport, right? Let's say you can raise sponsorship or something. So at the age of 14, 15, I was looking for sponsors for myself on my own and trying to get into motorsport somehow, right? Did not work out as planned, but then I got opportunities like the uh, Toyota Etios Motor Racing, which came out in 2010, 2011. And that kickstarted my stint in the national championship. They had a very good driver selection program, and they selected close to 25 drivers, and it was almost a free drive for everyone. In fact,
Oh, wow.
what they
Okay.
charge for, yeah, exactly, right? It's unheard of. What they charge for was only the racing suits, the suits and the overalls, the helmet and the entire kit. You didn't even
Oh.
have to pay for the damage to the car. And we had live TV coverage. So this was brand new for Indian motorsport, and I'm very thankful to Toyota that they brought that here. And that was a one-make championship, so very good place to showcase your skills.
Was this
And
the
that got me
Etios
going.
Cup by any chance?
ETOS Cup, yeah, ETOS Motor Racing it was called.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh,
This
lovely. It
started back in
was
2010-11.
entirely a free championship, essentially free, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Oh,
They
wow.
did driver selections really well also. They had like local city based, then they had national based, then they had like fitness training for us. They had psychological training for us. And they also had like Japanese TRD drivers, Toyota Racing Development
Yeah.
drivers, who had flown down to Chennai and they trained us. On top of that, there was this, Ben Collins? Ben
The
Collins and
test
Akira Ida. Yeah, Ben Collins was Top Gear's The
top,
Stig.
yeah, the test driver, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
man behind the white suit,
Stig.
right? So, yeah, the stick, right? So he was there racing with us. Akira Ida, who held the Nürburgring lap record on the LFA, was racing with us in the championship
That's
uh,
crazy.
in a couple of rounds, right? So they brought down those drivers to showcase what the skill set of the current set of drivers are. And it was amazing. So that kickstarted my national championship stint. And post that, I started going for the Nissan GT Academy. 2014 is when they first came out, and 2014 I got selected by by Nissan for the GT Academy. That went well, but I could not participate due to some. I was in the top six, but I could not participate in the finale due to some medical health issues that I had at home. My mother was sick. Uh, so I got selected again, and I think I'm not sure about this, but I think I'm the first driver ever in the GT Academy history to be selected twice for something. In the first year, they had like 6,000 drivers who had applied for it. In the second year, they had like 10,000 drivers, all from India. Because it was so accessible, now it was accessible through a simulator. You didn't even have to go to the local karting track and set a lap on a kart. It was just racing simulator. You just had to buy a Logitech wheel and PlayStation Gran Turismo, and you could play. So it was so accessible. There were so many entries into it. And then I was selected in the top six again for the next year. Went down and they had like a 10-day long driver elimination come selection program, which is called the race camp in the UK. And they judge you based on everything: your fitness, your PR skills, your driving capabilities on various different cars. They put you in really tough situations, and then they select you. And so I was the one who was selected for the Indian camp, from the Indian camp, right? And that there was this Asian finale where I think I finished third in the race and lost out on that $1 million contract. It's not necessary that you have to win the race to be able to win that contract, but it's mostly like 90% of the times you win the contract if you win the race. And yeah, that was like the most disheartening thing that I had experienced, because I'd put in like years of work to be able to get selected into the GT Academy. I thought that if there's one way that I can make it as a racing driver without having to invest a lot of money of my own, is through programs like these. So I was thankful to Toyota and Nissan that they had the programs for drivers like me in the first place. And yeah, I got selected. I went through that, but did not win the finale or the prize. In 2015 itself, I think it was the last year that Nissan held GT Academy. After that, they shut it down.
Yes.
In fact, the winner of GT Academy from Asian Camp also did not win the $1 million contract. So even if I would have won, I don't know if I would have gotten the
Yeah.
$1 million contract, right? So that happened. And post that, I had a small thing where I won the scholarship with MRF for the Formula 1600s. They had a scholarship shootout. Again, MMSC did the scholarship shootout, and really thankful to them and MRF for that. Uh, and I got selected for that, and I was given like a 50% off on the championship. I could not manage the rest of the money. There was a sponsor who had promised the money and was about to come through, let's say 3 days or 4 days before the race weekend, and they did not. And this was like such a disheartening moment for me again. And that after that point, I decided to stop having to go through this agony of trying to organize the money every single time I want to get into a race car, and decided let's just make my own money and get into the sport myself so that I don't have to stop in the middle and have gap years. Post that, I can just race with my money for the rest of my life, is what I wanted to do. And I thought that what is the most what is the most amount of money I can make legally and how I can make it. Right? Because I didn't want to go through the illegal path, of course. And the startup ecosystem is the best way that people with merit can make a lot of money for themselves. Honestly, is what I realize. And when I started off my company back in 2016-17, it was still not in its infancy, but it had matured to a level that there was enough uh, players in the ecosystem to support you and do things, and employees would join startups more actively than earlier. Your support from family and friends and parents was much better. So
This must have been around what, 2016?
16,
7?
16 and 17, yeah,
That was really the inflection point for startups in
exactly,
India, wasn't it? So there's a lot of investor activity happening and a lot more
exactly.
funds that had suddenly come down to India. So,
Yep.
yeah, makes sense.
So that's when I started, and it was a good time to start. Uh, Again, I'm such a person that I love building things. I love exploring my curiosity on things. And I'm always curious about the automotive industry and computer science and electronics. And somehow I narrowed down to a specific problem statement, which is road safety. And it was very close to my heart. Right? I had lost friends and family in road accidents in India. And I thought something needs to be done about this. And I thought, let's build a company around it. And my initial idea was that there is dash cams that you should have as a compulsion attached to your insurance. Okay. So that everyone is accountable for their mistakes, and there is evidence of it. And you can't make insurance claims without the footage. I think that's how it's done in Russia.
Okay.
So I thought that's a good way to bring some order to the chaos that we have on Indian roads. And we started off trying to build the dash cams and everything around it. As and when you get more into it, you realize that it's not as viable. And gradually, a business idea shifted from something like dash cams to insurance telematics. And from insurance telematics, we realized that the entire connected ecosystem is something we can tap into. So we started building the connected car tech for the aftermarket industry, and more specifically for the used car industry. We went into further and further niche on that, and realized that we have a great product market fit in terms of what happens to a used car dealer once they sell the vehicle. They can not tap into the additional revenue that is generated during the lifespan of the vehicle. So then we started tapping into that. So what our devices did was it could fit into any car. It transmits data from the car to the internet. And then from there, we had intelligence on top of it so that you could decipher information and then bring some value to the customer in terms of it did three things. It gave you peace of mind, where your vehicle is, how it uh, is your family safe in the vehicle, because it's the second biggest investment you make in your life, but you know
Yes.
don't know its whereabouts. 99% of the time, it's just parked somewhere randomly.
Yep.
Okay, and you don't have access to it. So where it's parked, how it's doing, how's the health of the vehicle, it saves you money. It gives you access to the right relevant information to your vehicle, saves you time. So all of these things were the added advantage. And on top of that, road safety was something which will happen once the insurance industry gets on the bandwagon and connects it to the driving characteristics of the vehicle, right? So this is the journey of building the company, and when I realized the value can be created much more if I partner with a large used car player which sells a lot of vehicles in India, we ended up selling the entire company to a used car player. So that was the journey, and the paperwork took about 6 months. But I think 6th of December is got when I got my money, and 12th of December was when I was in a race car.
So, which was the first pick of poison? Like, where did you first put that money back into racing?
I went back into the Etios race car. It was instantly available. I got a call from someone I knew that would you like to try this? It's available, and the race cars are getting back into the championship. And that was the year MRF, it got termed as the MRF Saloons,
Yeah.
and the championship restarted. So I was like, okay, might as well, I'll come down for it. Flew down, started doing that, and did 3 rounds and stopped doing it. Then I decided I wanted to race internationally only for a bunch of reasons. And yeah, that was the beginning of racing again, the second stint in racing.
I think one thing that is important, and you've gone through this whole process of building a company and then selling it, right? And one thing that even you would have probably kept in mind is knowing when to exit is a super important decision that you make, and it's a conscious decision that you make. And I think it works the same way for motor racing as well, right? So in 2016 or maybe 2015, when you were scouring for these scholarships or sponsors to help you race, and then you just said, let me take a pause and let me come back to this with a fresh set of eyes, or whenever I do come back to this. I think that's a conscious call that one has to take, even in today's young drivers, if they ever come to that situation where they have to take a step back. So what has that sort of taught you through the years? Because it's a difficult one, because you really like doing something, you want to continue doing it as much as possible. But at the same time, you have to be practical about it. You have to think with a very non-emotional muscle, in a way. Has that taught you anything, or do you look at racing any differently than you used to back in 2015, 2016?
So these are two different questions, so I'll address them separately.
Go for it.
I like both the questions too, that's why. So first, quitting racing, see, in my heart, I knew I will get back to it. And, business always takes more money than you think it will, and it'll take more time than you think it will. Okay, so in my heart, I knew that I'll come back in like 2 years, 3 years. Okay, when I'm like 25, 26, I'll be back. So I never thought of it as quitting entirely. I always wanted to get back into it. It took me 6 years or 7 years. I did not expect that. And in those 6, 7 years, I was always thinking about getting back into a race car, dreaming about it or whatever. But it was more an instinctual decision while I wanted to quit racing and, let's say, take a pause from racing.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to put it.
Yeah,
quit.
Well, I wanted to take a pause from racing, and honestly, I didn't have a lot of options but to do this. It's like there's this thing about, you have to roll a 6 on the dice.
Yeah.
Okay, there is no option but to roll a 6 on the dice. So this is the only way you get back into a race car. You have to do this then. So it took me like those 6 years, but those are the only options so that I can get back into a race car again, legally. But when I decided to quit, or let's say sell off my company, entrepreneurship is also something that again, I've taken a pause from for the last 2 years, but I'm getting back into it. That's also something I can't ever quit. These are two things which are so close to my heart. I don't see myself stopping them ever. Uh, so taking a pause from entrepreneurship and selling off my company, that was more a decision again from the heart, but it was like 70% from the heart and 30% from the mind. So there's this essay by James March on decision making. And James March is this psychologist who spoke about that decision making is two front. One is your cost value benefit analysis, which is your logical mind, and the other is your emotional mind, which is who am I as a person, what is the situation, and what does a person like me do in this situation. So if you look at a mother who sees their baby crying, the mother, no matter how tired the mother is, will not think about, oh, I'm so tired, I don't want to take care of the baby. The mother is a mother. She will go ahead and take care of the baby, right? She'll not think about how tired she is and everything.
Yeah.
So, who am I as a person when I got the opportunity that I can sell my company? Is I come from a middle class background. Okay, I have been wanting to race cars, and this is an opportunity that I can create a financially independent lifestyle for myself where I can continue racing cars and maybe build another company in the future. So if this opportunity has arisen, maybe I can build more value for my company going forward in the future. But is the value that I'm getting right now good enough? And the answer was yes. So I decided that as who I am as a person right now, it's a better call to just sell it off and move forward. And 2021 was a very opportune time, as you mentioned that 2016-17 was an inflection point for the startup ecosystem in terms of funding, and a lot of ecosystem had built around the venture capital world. 2021 was a boom period for startups in India and abroad also. It was when everyone was doing an IPO. People were raising, there were more unicorns than any time before or after, right? And it was a very opportune time. There was a lot of liquidity because of the 2020 money printing, and good time to exit at that particular point. So again, I would say I'm happy about the decision. Right now, there's a boom happening of the SME IPOs.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes.
2024, 2023 was a really good time for the SME IPO. Had I not exited my company, maybe I would have done an IPO, SME IPO by now, and that would have given me more value. But it would have also taken away 2 or 3 years of racing from me. And
Yeah.
would I trade for it? Yes. Like I would want to race cars more than more money in 3 years later. I would want to race earlier. So I'm happy with my decision to exit, and I'm also happy with my decision to take a pause in 2016. Yeah.
Fair enough. I think that makes sense. But when you did, and you said that you wanted to make. One is obviously what is the quickest way you're going to make that money so that you can raise. But the second is you also come from a family, or your mom is a founder herself. She's a business owner, right?
Yeah.
So you
Uh,
you are genetically programmed to have to do that in a way. I'm not saying that that is the code of the universe and that's what ends up happening, but then I'm just saying that it's kind of literally in your DNA to do something like
hmm.
that. So in a way, when you do build businesses, you have to know what your end game is. If you don't know that, it's a bit of a problem. You're going to be stuck to it forever, right? And I
Yeah.
think racing in a way pulled you back into this side of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. So my mother was a businesswoman. My father is a banker. Was a banker. He's retired now. So growing up, I'm from a typical Banya family. We enter a restaurant or a cafe or any place as a family. My parents are like calculating the OPEX of the place. What is the investment that would have gone into making the place and all of that. And that's what you grow up listening to. And I spent a lot of my childhood at my mother's office. And she would love business so much. She would come and tell me all the things about how she cracked this particular deal, and how is this helping her in the overall longer vision of her company for herself. And that was so much influence on me with respect to building a business. More than anything else, I learned from her how to work with people. Like her employees would stick around for ages, okay, and they wouldn't go. And most of her employees, in fact, we had like uh, a dinner that we organized for remembering her recently on her birthday last year. And all her employees from whatever period that she had built the company, every single one of them was there. So that was the biggest learning I had from my mother while I observed her and building her company. And yeah, the fact that let me give you an interesting statistics, okay? So some years back, I just sat down and I was like, okay, every single startup founder name that I see, there's like a Gupta or an Agarwal or a Gangal or something like that, right? So some similar surname that I see. So I sat down and made a list of all the startups which are valued at $100 million plus in India and made a list of all the founders out of them. And out of them, close to 54 or 55% of the startups had a Marwadi, Banya, or a Gujarati founder.
Are you
It's
surprised?
not really. I expected the number to be slightly higher.
Bigger, yeah, me too.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, this makes sense, right? So it's just how trading has been in the DNA for generations. And evolution also plays a role in that aspect that your brain just becomes better in those aspects. And I think that's what makes you how you are in that sense, maybe. I don't know.
So, where did the racing side come from? Did anybody have a fascination towards fast cars, speed?
Not not really. This is like a anomaly in the DNA chain,
Yeah.
maybe. Because there's no one in my extended family, even like mother's side or father's side, who was fascinated by fast cars or racing or anything. So I think it's just me.
But when you did come back into racing, right, for the second stint of your racing career,
Hmm.
why the NLS? I know you went
Ah,
into ETOs first, and
yeah.
then you wanted to move international, and then you picked the NLS. But why the NLS?
So the Nürburgring Nordschleife was my wallpaper for the last 15, 16 years. Like for that long, I've been wanting to race on the Nürburgring racetrack, right? And not the GP circuit, but the full circuit.
The full circuit.
Uh, it's been a dream for that long. One, it's the most challenging racetrack in the world. Uh, Second, I'm not married. I don't have my kids. I'm not married. I don't have liabilities. I can do this right now, right? It's
Full
it's a
gas.
bit
Yeah.
more dangerous on the racing front than most other racetracks in the world.
Yep.
And right now I can do this, so I might as well. And what I learned, right? So I recently, after racing in the Nürburgring for a while, I went to the Dubai circuit, and this is the first time I went to a normal GP circuit from Nordschleife. And it's so much easier now. It's 10 times easier
It
to
is
race on a
true.
GP circuit compared to Nordschleife. Nothing comes close, nothing. And it's I can't put it in words how amazing it is to race on that circuit, and it's just out of this world experience. I don't think anything comes close on that front. And this is the more exhilarating or exciting part of why the NLS. And the second reason is it's one of the most economical value for money championships out there. Okay,
Interesting.
endurance racing in itself makes it a little more economical because you share the vehicle with multiple drivers,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? But NLS as a whole is much cheaper than most of the other European championships or American championships, or the Asian ones also.
Correct.
So its value for money is the most exciting. The cars are really fun to drive on those circuits. Uh, yeah, I think I can't pinpoint to any other championship that I would like to do right now. My goal is to first conquer the Nürburgring, Nordschleife, and then uh, move on to other things in the world in terms of racing. I want to race across the world everywhere. But first, this particular racetrack, and once this is done, other things won't be that big a challenge.
Fair enough. Actually, I mean, you've come a bit close. You finished vice champion this year
Yeah.
in your class, and I
Yep. Yep.
think next I assume is that you're going for the big title,
Yeah. So
natural
there's
progression,
the yeah. No, so I don't want the class championship. I want the overall
overall.
championship now.
Yeah.
I think it's not too far-fetched to look at it that way. Uh, so the overall championship has maybe 20-ish classes, and each class there's a separate class championship that happens, but you get a full points which go into the overall
Overall.
classification also. So usually the car which wins almost all the races, but one or two, wins the overall title. Okay, but you need at least seven cars in your class to get full points for the championship. So you have to be in a class with a lot of competition,
Right.
right? And they're like five or six classes where you can have a lot of competition and you can have a shot at winning the overall title. The class that I'm into right now has the best shot at, with me as a driver, has the best shot at winning the overall title. So yeah, I think it's not too far-fetched, and I look forward to 2025 to do this, to win the overall NLS title.
In fact, the NLS, sort of the Nürburgring and the way that you described it, sort of prompts me to ask you this question. I remember jumping into an odd conversation with Fabian Wohlwend and Alistair Jung,
Hmm.
I think 2 seasons back, when they were at the Indian Racing League. And they went for about 15 to 20 minutes on, just straight, talking about some obscure corner in which you've got a ridge, and then basically TLDR is that they went for 15-20 minutes just talking about the Nürburgring, right?
Yeah.
The whole circuit, doing the whole circuit, racing on it, right? I was just like, okay, I don't understand anything because one, I have not driven the whole circuit. Second, I'm not a
Mm.
sim racing driver, so I don't even know the whole circuit. I just know the shape of the circuit, right? These guys were going
Yeah.
into the details and the specifics that makes it as enjoyable as it is. So my question really is this circuit as enjoyable as it is because of the nature, or is it because you as a human being need a lot more concentration and a lot more attention span than you probably have at the moment to make sure that you nail the perfect lap there?
Mm, I think it's the first one. I think it's how the racetrack is. Let me give you a few insights on the racetrack. Firstly, it's 23, 25 kilometers long based on the layout. Okay, so your average GP circuit would be a 5 kilometer
Five
circuit,
kilometers, yeah.
right? And a 25 kilometer, you need to hold your concentration for over 9 minutes
Yeah.
to have a really good lap. It's roughly about 9-ish minutes, right? Uh, the there's a karting track in my city, close to my city called Vadodara, which is owned by a friend of mine. Okay, so he called me up one day and he's like, "You're going to race on the Nürburgring?" I'm like, "Yeah." So, okay, he's like, "Do you realize that the average width of the karting track is 7 meters? My karting track is 7 meters, 7.5 meters, and the average track width of Nürburgring is 8 meters." And what is the difference in speed that you have? You do at max 120, 130 on my karting track, and you're doing 300 on the Nürburgring. So I'm like, yeah, I know this. But this is the width of the track is one aspect of it. What takes you by utter surprise is the elevation changes that you have. There are certain corners where you approach them and you look at it from the outside, it looks like a straight wall. It looks like a wall. The elevation changes so much, it looks like a wall in front of you. Okay, and
So it's
you
basically
climb it,
blind on the other side.
almost half the track is blind.
Okay.
Almost half of it, you don't see what's on the other side.
Jeez.
And it's so there's close to 450 meters of elevation change on the track. Okay,
What?
at a certain corners, yeah, 450 meters. I can share the elevation change graph of the entire circuit. You'll see it. Okay, and
That's
there's
big.
certain corners where you're going downhill at 250, 240, and the track suddenly goes uphill at that very moment. This corner is called Foxhole because a fox was found in the drainage pipes while the construction was going on. Don't ask.
No,
So
I
this
don't
is
want to
going
ask.
downhill at 240, 250, and it suddenly goes uphill while you're taking a left hand. And then you have to brake while taking a left hand corner at 240, while your entire body is just thrown out of the
Yeah,
place, right? Because of the G forces so much.
correct. Yeah.
So the first time I took it, I did not expect the G forces to be that heavy. So my foot did not go on the brake paddle enough. I could not reach from the throttle to the brake enough, and I could not brake in time, and I almost
Jeez.
overshot that corner, and it's a very fast corner to overshoot without any runoff.
There was no runoff.
There's mostly no runoff on most corners on the
Oh
track.
my God. Okay. Okay. See
It's
this.
just it's just like a Skeletrix game, right? So
Yeah.
there's Armco barrier on both, and you make a mistake, you hit one, you hit the other, you hit one, you hit the other, you stay in the middle.
Oh
That is
my
what
God.
Nürburgring is. I'll send you some footage of the elevation changes. Once you look at it from the rear view cam of the vehicle going on
Mhm.
board, it is something else. You'll get the perspective. There's certain cars on which you have to downshift while going. This is entire section called the Kesselchen.
Mhm.
Kesselchen is it's like the valley between two mountains. So
Okay.
there's two large mountains here. So whenever there's like a huge crosswind coming, certain cars have to downshift going uphill. It's all a straight, but you have to downshift going uphill. It's that much of an elevation change going uphill. So, and this is at 215 that you have to downshift.
What? Th-
Yeah.
how do you even prepare for something like this? Do you have a routine going through all of
I
this?
have I drove like 10,000 kilometers on Nürburgring on the simulator before going there, thinking
Okay.
that should be enough. It's not. Nothing prepares you for it. Nothing prepares you for the elevation changes, the fact that the car goes into the air, the
Yeah,
fact
I've seen
that,
pictures. Yep.
yeah, exactly. And I had a minor crash on one such corner. It's called Flanschgarten 2, where the car goes into the air, and it was a damp surface. It was my first out lap. The tires are cold, and it went into the air, landed on the ground, and just went into the barrier. Because the barrier is 2 meters away from
Yeah.
that place, and so it just nothing prepares you for the circuit, and you have to experience it to know what it is. Uh, which I tried a lot to post a lot of pictures to do justice to what the track is like in reality, but it's very hard.
So basically, we're back to square one of all motorsport problems is that for the Nürburgring, you kind of have to do this thing in person to really
Yeah,
feel it and to be prepared for it.
yeah. The next best thing that you can do is sit with a race car driver in the race taxi that we have on Fridays. During the practice session, we take passengers on the in the race car. And that in itself is quite unique to Nürburgring as an experience. Uh, and that is the next best thing you can experience of what it feels like to be on the Nürburgring on the limit in a race car.
Do you do the whole Nürburgring Nordschleife even during the taxi rides? I just thought it's the
Yeah,
GP layout.
no, it's the full circuit.
Oh wow, okay. That's worth your money, I guess, if you spend.
Totally. Yeah.
Oh
Otherwise,
wow.
150, 200 euros for one lap is not worth it for the GP circuit.
Yeah. No, I mean, see, people spend on experiences these days, right? So I think that would still fly. It would manage to fly.
Yeah.
But is there? And you specifically said that you wanted to race internationally. Now, just taking the focus back into Indian motorsports, you've seen the thick of it. Arguably you've probably had the best of what Indian motorsport had to offer in terms of the Nissan GT Academy coming in. You also had Etios Cup that was running at its fullest possible fledge.
Hmm.
So I I wanted to know what is probably the difference, and I know there's plenty of differentiating points. But what is the difference and why you want to continue to race internationally?
Uh,
Is it that you'd like to go up that whole racing ladder once again, or is it just a better experience?
See, when I was racing back in 2014 or 13 in India, the races in the national championship, the cars that we had was the Etios Motor Racing. We had the Formula 1600, we had the Formula 2000, we had IJTC, we had Superstock, and we had ITC.
Right.
The Polo Cup was not coming on the Chennai track, but the Polo Cup also existed.
Yes.
Uh, Fast forward to 2021, we have the same exact cars,
Yes.
right? In addition to that, we have the Indian Racing League now, which is the Formula 4 chassis, F4 and the other car, the full car, right? So those two cars are also there. Uh, but more or less the same cars, more or less the same drivers, more or less the same circuits. There's no new circuits that are there on the calendar. And it did not give me the excitement anymore because I had done that earlier. And I wanted a bigger challenge. I wanted faster cars. I wanted more competition. Uh, and it did not make sense for me to continue in Indian motorsport. That's why. And Nürburgring was on my bucket list for so
Wallpaper.
long. Yeah, yeah. So for so long that I wanted to do it, and the opportunity came, and I thought, why not? Let's try this. Uh, I made a list of all the championships that I could do across the world, including all the Indian championships, and I scored them all on various parameters, like how much fun will I have doing this,
I'm not even
how much of
surprised.
a how much of a challenge is this, how much is it in terms of money, and on all the aspects, Nürburgring long distance series came on top. So that is where I wanted to be then. So I can share that with you. It'll be a nice snippet that you can put it up over here.
No, for sure. But what next? So, okay, fine. You've done the Indian side of things. You've experienced
Hmm.
the best of what it has to offer. You've done the NLS, Nürburgring, that was on your wallpaper and your longest dream. So, what next?
First is I want to win this championship, the NLS, and 2025 I'm going all in for that. That is the first goal. I don't find myself happy enough when I'm just racing. I have to be in contention of the championship, and I have to keep improving myself physically, mentally, as a driver, in every way until I can get there. So first is this. This is my immediate goal. After that, I want to explore maybe the 24-hour series. I did one round of it, and I found it really exciting. The thing is, I'm in production cars right now, which don't have a lot of downforce, which are very heavy, which don't have race ABS or a lot of power. Uh, but it's like starting in a four-stroke kart. It teaches you more than a two-stroke kart will,
Yeah.
right? In India, let's say. Uh, these cars are much harder to drive than your GT3 cars out there because they don't have traction control, they don't have race ABS, they don't have downforce, they're very heavy, especially on a circuit like Nordschleife. These cars are very hard to drive. The weight to carry that around on corners is very difficult. So it's teaching me so much more and building up my skills for what is to come. I had a taste of the TCR car in the 24-hour series,
Yep.
and it seemed so easy for me to drive. It was a lot of fun, I won't lie, but so much easier to drive than the Hyundai I race and the NLS. And I'm like, okay, so it has prepared me well. I could get up to speed in that car so quickly and continued doing that and just enjoyed the entire thing. So I think the 24-hour series is a good place that I would like to be in, but I would like to be in a, a GD4 car or a Cup car, a 911 Cup car, right? These two. And I also am looking at something like TCR, the next thing on the ladder from here. Maybe a particular national championship in Asia, Europe, or Americas. I also had a an invitation from the what is that championship called? Uh, I had an invitation from the TC America, which
Okay.
has Hyundai race cars, the same Elantra based race cars, very similar cars.
Yeah.
Uh, to do that it runs in parallel with the Pirelli World Challenge, right? So that is also there, but it's relatively more expensive compared to what we have in Europe. America is more expensive than Europe, and Asia for sure. So let's see. Middle East is one of the most expensive. Then come America, then comes Europe, and then Asia. So
But
I'm not sure. There are like a bunch of things. Maybe the 24-hour series, maybe the TCR National Championship, maybe GD4 championships. I'll for sure keep doing the Nürburgring 24 hours for as long as I can. It is quite a spectacle. It is something else. There are like close to 300,000 fans on the circuit,
yeah,
and they're,
I've seen the
they're
images,
cross.
the visuals of
Yeah,
fans coming onto the track on a, I think on a Thursday or a
the
Friday.
parade.
That's,
Yeah,
yeah, it's mad. And
yeah,
we think, something like I'm sure that the Le Mans 24 is just as big, but
yeah.
it's arguably it's not even. I think the NLS is like this one sort of championship that is so open out there in terms of even as a consumer, right? You can just log
Hmm.
into your average YouTube channel, follow it the entire time, or even the website's accessible enough for you to give the time, live timings, and so on. But it's just so nice to see people take that opportunity to actually come and support that series, because in Germany, I'm sure even that motorsport is quite, it's on a rocky road right now.
Hmm.
And to see the sort of support that you guys have racing over there is insane. And it's so cool
Yeah.
because you want to be a part of it.
The NLS the Nürburgring 24 hours, for instance, is a lot more accessible to drivers as well compared to the Le Mans 24 hours. So in this, you have production cars which are maybe 15 years old, which are also racing, and then on top you have the GT3 cars. In the Le Mans 24 hours, you start with a GTE car,
Yeah.
which is
Yes.
even a step further to the GD3 cars, right? And
Yeah.
what is on top of over here is like the bottom rung in
Yeah.
Le Mans.
Yeah.
So in terms of accessibility and affordability, this is much more affordable and accessible in terms of in that aspect, right? But Le Mans is of course another dream. The Le Mans wallpaper has been on my wall for a while. It's not the it's not on my desktop, it's on my wall for a while. So that is also a dream race that I want to be in. Maybe in a GT car, maybe in an LMP2 or something, I don't know. But yeah, that's something I want to do.
This is so cool. I mean, for youngsters that are sort of coming up the ranks right now, and if you had to play the godfather, the guru here right now, I don't know the right term for it, but let's say that somebody in a position to give them a bit of advice as to how to sort of build your career in such a way that you don't land up in a situation where you have to sort of take a break, or to
Hmm.
basically make sure that it's sustainable. What would that be? Because you come with a lot of experience in that regard. You've seen both sides of the play.
Yeah, I think it's it's subjective to so many factors. Like if you come
Yeah.
with money, uh, what is the extent of money you have? And you can choose particular championships where you can sustain with that money for a very long time, right? Category of cars where you can sustain with that amount of money for a very long time. You can go all in into maybe 3 seasons of Formula 4, 3, whatever, uh, and burn it all up and see if you're extremely talented and you have it in you to be able to get there, and see if opportunities arise because you're very, very talented and you can do that, right? Uh, there's so many permutation combinations that you can take. Uh, I think more than anything else, it's to be realistic. It's always strive to be more and more and more and get better inside a race car, outside a race car, to promote yourself, to promote your sponsors, to promote, to make more money out of it, or just in real life so you can spend more on this, get fitter and everything. But be more realistic in terms of where you are placed as a race car driver, where you can compete. Like, imagine me trying to go in for a season of Formula 3 or a Formula 4 season, right now. That'll be that'll maybe burn up a lot more money for me than what I do,
Yeah.
what I would burn doing 6, 7 seasons of NLS or some equivalent championship. And maybe I have a shot at something of a midfield or a top 5 or top 7 places in the championship. Is it going to actually give me enough exposure that I can get a free seat in Formula 2 or get enough sponsors in Formula 2 or get enough sponsors for Formula 3 next year? It's really extremely difficult to say that. And so I would rather spend all my money in GT cars and take a transition rather than chasing the Formula path and make a name for myself in that and rise up the ranks in that. And then maybe get a seat in some GT3 car as a factory driver as a progression rather than chasing Formula One. So it's a bunch of things. I think you need to be realistic with what path you want to choose and where you want to land up. What is it that you're looking for from racing? Is it going to be something that will make a career for you, or is it something that is going to be a hobby for you and then is going to make you a better person, just doing it as a sport? For me, it's the latter. I do it and it makes me so much more of a person than I would be otherwise. And I just enjoy the process of doing this and becoming a better person through it.
You mentioned becoming a better person through racing. Is that more from the way you approach it and the way it changes you as a person, or more of like finding your limits? Because you have had a lot of things that have gone. You faced a lot of headwind coming to this point, right? Both from being a clubfoot athlete to, to the extent that you didn't have money to race somewhere midway, knowing that you had to make it back and then come back into racing. All of that basically builds character, or that's what I think it does. And do you think motorsports sort of helped you in that, or is that a process you would have either way gone through?
No, I think it's majorly the sport which built the character. So I think uh, any sport, if you're competing at any level and you keep going higher up the ranks in that particular sport, it'll require you to become a different person so that you can excel in it. Talent will only take you so far. You'll always have to evolve. You'll always have to become a better person so that you can excel in the particular sport, right? Uh, I think for me, motorsport made me so much of a better person through just every aspect of it. So fundamentally, success in every particular field requires you to do certain things. It requires you to have discipline. It requires you to put in a lot of hard work, uh, stay focused. Let be entrepreneurship, let be sports. It all require like the core principles behind becoming successful in anything is the same. But the results for your input are seen so much faster in motorsport or any sport for that matter that you learn that okay, if I put this input, I get this output so fast, and then that uh, the what do you call it? The reward? No, the feedback loop is so fast that you do more of that, and then once you understand the fundamental principles of what it takes to be successful in one particular realm of life, you can just replicate it everywhere else. That's all it takes. So if you want to excel in sports at any level, it takes a lot out of you, and that's it. That gives you the learnings to be a to build character and be a better person.
This is amazing. I think I can keep talking to you about the translational stuff that you've learned from building stuff outside of motorsport to what you put out on track, because I think fundamentally there's, like you said, it's foundational principles that don't change across
Mm.
anything, right? And I can go on talking to you about this, but I think we're more or less at time, and I don't think I have another 3 hours to talk to you about. But this is definitely something that we can catch up on offline. But I
Sure.
just want to say thank you so much for joining on this podcast. And I know that we've been talking for a while now, so it's really nice to actually have a proper chat with you about racing and about things that sort of drive you and help you drive the car. So it's so cool. Thank you so much again. And
Thank
I'm
you for
looking
having me.
forward to watching the entire NLS now.
Yeah, I think should be fun. I think thank you for covering me throughout the season as well in 2024. And I love the feed. Your channel is the source for me for getting all the Asian motorsport news out, mostly and Indian for sure, but Asian as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
great job with it, and I look forward to it more.
Hey, thank you so much.